Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mail Bag on this glorious Sunday morning / afternoon, depending on where you live right now. My name is John Campy. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News. So glad that you're here joining us today. For those of you who may not know and you're wondering, what is this? Well, AMC Mail Bag is the spinoff of AMC Movie Talk. Now, every day, Monday through Friday on AMC Movie Talk, we take time to answer one or two mailbag questions. You guys can email us questions anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we get about 1,000 questions emailed to us every week, and obviously we don't have time to get to the vast majority of them. So we started this weekend show, Saturdays and Sundays, to do nothing but take your mailbag questions. And we are so glad that you send them in to us, and we're so glad that you're here. You know, I mentioned on yesterday's show, and this is obviously pre-recorded, but that it's been a big week for us at AMC Movie Talk and AMC Movie News. We moved into the new studio, and hopefully you've had a chance to see the new studio. It's a big upgrade from the other studio. And so it's been a busy week there. We crossed 100,000 subscribers, which was great. You know, I never thought we would get to 100,000 subscribers in the calendar year of 2013. Not a chance did I think that would happen. And yet you guys proved me wrong, and I'm so glad that you did. So it's been pretty busy. Now, some of you guys have been asking me, well, what about the other studio? Well, we're still going to be using that other studio. We've got some other shows that we have cooking in the oven right now that we cannot wait to bring to you guys. I'm going to give you more details, but I mean, in the coming months, we're going to be to the point where we are going to be putting up, I believe, like 2 shows almost every day, Monday through Friday, nearly 2 shows on top of you know, obviously the mailbag show on Saturdays and Sundays. So we're going to give you more details about that, and look out on Monday and Tuesday, because on Monday and Tuesday we're probably going to be doing a little tour of the new studio. We're going to give you a walk around. We're going to introduce you to some people and show you how we make this thing work. And Dennis is going to produce that for us. He's going to be shooting that little video for us, and I'm looking forward to doing it and for you guys to see it. So yeah, so this is obviously, I'm back in AMC Studio B. This is Mailbag, far more casual, far more laid back. Now, because it was such a big week, moving into the new studio, crossing 100,000, we're developing other stuff right now. Everybody was really busy. I decided this weekend, give everybody the weekend off. So today, it's you, it's me, couple of movie fans sitting around talking movies. We're going to agree on some things. We're going to disagree on some things. Best part about being a film fan, because all film's subjective. So with that all being said, let's dive into the first question for this beautiful Sunday. And the first question today comes to us from Johnny Crash, who writes, with the reboot of Godzilla and the past reboot of King Kong, do you believe we will see a reboot of King Kong versus Godzilla? As a kid, this was my favorite movie, and I would love to see a fresh new take with CGI on this cult classic. New Hollywood trend, forget superhero movies, bring in the big monster movies. I totally forgot that King Kong versus Godzilla existed. I watched that 20 years ago. I totally forgot about it. When you brought it up, I went back onto YouTube and I started looking at the old trailers again. It's like, Godzilla has a brain the size of this pea, whereas King Kong has a brain this size. You know, it was hilarious. And how bad was that King Kong outfit? I mean, how bad was that costume? Anyway, in an age when all of us are looking for mashup movies, you know, we get out of the 1,000 of questions that we get every single week, at least 100 or 200 of them revolve around mashups. Could we see a Thor versus Hulk movie? Could we see a Superman versus Wolverine movie? You know, there's a lot of mashup questions. And we love to theorize and think about mashup movies. But the mashup of the giant monsters, I would be there to see it. I think that movie could make a lot of money. Are you kidding me? I think a Godzilla versus King Kong movie would eclipse Pacific Rim. Would eclipse King Kong. It would eclipse the upcoming Godzilla. Godzilla versus King Kong would be pardon the pun, a monster hit. Just a monster hit. I would love to see it. Reality is, it's not going to happen. Much like the superhero genre, when a lot of people saying, hey, when are we going to see Spider-Man and Avengers? Well, we're not, because Spider-Man is owned by Sony. Avengers is owned by Marvel and Disney. And ne'er the twain shall meet. They're not going to cross them over. It's just not going to happen. And in the movie world, I believe King Kong is under Universal. Godzilla right now is under Warner Brothers. So, no, I just don't see it happening. I just don't think it's going to happen, which is really unfortunate. Maybe sometime 10 years down the line, if Universal gives up on the rights to King Kong or Warner Brothers decides giant monster movies isn't for them and they give up on Godzilla. Of course, if this upcoming Godzilla movie coming out next year is a big hit, they're going to hold on to Godzilla forever. But let's say that Godzilla bombs next year, which it looks pretty good to me. But let's say, for an argument's sake, let's say it bombs, and I doubt it will. Maybe Warner Brothers gives up on it, lets it go, and maybe then Universal swoops in and says, hey, you know what? Maybe Godzilla didn't work, but I bet Godzilla versus King Kong would be a huge hit. Maybe then, but I really don't see it happening. I don't think it's likely. It's a small possibility, but I don't think it's likely. Okay, let's move on to question number 2 today. And question number 2 comes to us from Dave Sykes. And Dave Sykes writes, I was wondering, as you always say that it doesn't matter if you change race or sex, etc., when adapting a character for a movie, as long as the essence is there, do you think that Idris Elba would make a good Lex Luthor? I think he has the look and that he could pull it off, the genius psycho personalities of Luthor. What do you think? Yeah, I am pretty notorious. Look, Perry White was played by Morpheus in Man of Steel. Traditionally, Perry White is, well, he's white. Michael Clark Duncan played Kingpin, and traditionally speaking, Kingpin is a white guy. And I thought both of those casting decisions were perfectly fine. You know why? Because out of all of the key essential things to who Perry White is and to who Kingpin was, being white wasn't one of those key important things. Just not. Now, that's not to say that no character of their race isn't important. Of course, race is important with certain characters. With certain characters, it is important that this particular character, because the essence of who he is, he needs to, and where he comes from and what he's about, he needs to be a white character. Of course, if you're doing Black Panther, it would be very advantageous to have an African American playing Black Panther. It just seems to make sense. So obviously there are exceptions to that, absolutely. But I believe that for a lot of characters, it doesn't matter if they're black, Asian, white, Hispanic, doesn't matter. Some characters. I also believe with certain characters, it doesn't matter what gender they are. Like in Man of Steel, they went, instead of going with the traditional Jimmy Olsen, they went with, was it Janie Olsen? Is that who they went with? They made her a female character. Because it doesn't matter. The fact that Jimmy Olsen was a dude had nothing really to do with the role that Jimmy Olsen plays in the overall Superman mythology. Now, you can make the argument to me, well, John, in the comic books in 1994, and the story arcs from here to there, Jimmy is very, blah, blah, doesn't matter. We're talking about the movie universe, not the comic book universe, okay? So sometimes it is very important to keep the gender. Sometimes it's very important to keep the race. Sometimes all those, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying there are times when the race of the character isn't one of the key important things. Sometimes that's just the fact. And I thought Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin. Whatever you think of Daredevil, I thought Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin. And I thought Morpheus as Perry White worked just fine. And I'm going to tell you this too. I think Idris Elba playing Lex Luthor absolutely works. Absolutely does. Because I don't see anything in the character of Lex Luthor, in all the important key elements to make that character who he is, that him being white is an important factor. As far as I'm concerned, you could have a Korean Lex Luthor. You just can. And as such, I think you can have a black Lex Luthor. And in the specific question, and it's cool if you disagree, but he asked me, so I'm just giving my opinion. In this specific circumstance, I believe Idris Elba would be a pretty damn badass Lex Luthor. He can be absolutely terrifying. There is a power in his presence that he can easily come across as a mega genius and mega terrifying and absolutely charming at the same time. Now, does that mean I'm going to make Idris Elba my number one choice? No. Would I prefer, just because I'm used to a white bald, by the way, it's not really that important that Lex Luthor is bald, but because it is what I am familiar with, would I naturally gravitate towards a white, bald Lex Luthor? Yes. So my first 3 or 4 choices will probably fit within that range. But I absolutely believe if they announce tomorrow that Idris Elba was going to play Lex Luthor, you won't see any tears out of my eyes. I think that's great. I think it's a great choice. So although it's not one of my top 3, I'd be totally happy with it. Absolutely would. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question today comes to us. No, we already did Dave, so let's go on to the next question. Sebastian Isaacson writes, hi, AMC. Love the show. Watching it every day from Sweden. Well, thank you so much, Sebastian. I'm not sure we have many AMC theaters out there, but I'm glad you're watching anyway. To my question, have you guys heard anything about a third National Treasure movie? Thanks for answering and keep up the awesome work. You know, there's a lot of people who really love the National Treasure movies with Nicolas Cage. There's a lot of people really like those movies. They're fun. I didn't care for the second one much, I got to admit, even though it had a stellar cast. I was not very fond of the second one. Still, that being said, National Treasure is the great mystery treasure hunt adventure type of movie, and we love those kinds of movies, right? Now, regarding National Treasure 3, to the best of my knowledge, number one, they are doing it. Number two, it will star Nick Cage. Number three, John Turteltaub, I believe is the way you pronounce his name, is the director of the film. He directed the other two National Treasures, and I believe he is on and attached to direct the third one as well. He actually just directed Las Vegas with Morgan Freeman, Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, Kevin Kline. That opens in AMC theaters in the next couple of weeks. And I'm really excited about that film, as a matter of fact. I'm going to Las Vegas for the premiere, actually, in a couple of weeks. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to get to go to the after party, meet those guys, so it should be a lot of fun. So he directed that, and it looks like he is back. I know that Brian Kopelman, who wrote such poker movies as Rounders, great movie, by the way, Runner, not such a great movie, and he also wrote Ocean's 13. Apparently, he is on to either be the or one of these screenwriters for the film. Now, here's where the kind of catch and hiccup comes in. They just recently announced that, not Schumacher. Oh, damn. You know what, guys? Hold on a second. For whatever reason, I'm getting a big brain fart. The guy behind Pirates of the Caribbean. Anyway, him and Disney. You know what? I'm just going to look it up. I'm going to look it up right here on air as we're doing it because it's killing me. I wish we were doing the show live. And I'm looking at his face in my head, and I don't know why I'm not seeing here. So hold on a second. Pirates of the Caribbean. Because the producer's name, my initial thing was to say Joel Schumacher, but it is absolutely not Joel Schumacher. Let's see here. Who is it being produced by? Yeah, Rob Marshall directed it. And here we go. We're getting into the... I'm sorry I'm killing so much time here, guys, but this is going to kill me if I don't look this up. I know this guy. I was just talking to him like 3 months ago. Why am I drawing a complete blank? I can't find his name. I cannot find his name. This is killing me. Hold on a second. Jerry Bruckheimer. Why was I saying Schumacher? Jerry Bruckheimer. See, guys, I'm not afraid to show you I have brain freezes on the air. There we go. I just had a massive brain freeze. Why did I not remember Jerry Bruckheimer's name? Anyway, getting back to National Treasure. So, now that we've wasted like 2 minutes of time. So all those things are in place, right? We got the director coming back. Nicolas Cage is on. We got the writer in place, blah, 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 blah. It also, here's the catch, though. This is a Jerry Bruckheimer property that he's been doing with Disney. But after the colossal failure of Lone Ranger, it was announced that Jerry Bruckheimer and Disney, for the first time in forever, are parting ways. I don't know at this point where that leaves National Treasure's status. Does it go with Bruckheimer? Does Bruckheimer now take it and go to another studio and produce it there? Is it a property of Disney? Does it stay there and now they have to get a new producer in to replace Bruckheimer on it? Or does nobody get to do it? I don't know the answer to that. because I'd heard all this other stuff prior to hearing that Bruckheimer and Disney were parting ways. Now, I think they're not parting ways until maybe the end of 2014 or the summer 2014, and that any projects they produce between now and then continue to be a Disney and a Bruckheimer, working together in happy harmony thing. So maybe they're going to start moving on National Treasure soon enough that becomes one of those. But the basic answer to the question is I don't know officially the status, simply because of this split between Bruckheimer and Disney. So because of that, I don't know. When I find out more, I will let you guys know. All right, let's move on to question number 4, where hopefully I don't have to have a 2-minute long brain fart this time. Robert Lee writes, "Hey AMC, how are you guys? I have a question about the movie The Black Knight. In the ending," that's of course the Jeremy Lawrence film, that was absolutely, terrible here. Let me bring up a number here because I forget it right now. So Martin Lawrence does this film Black Knight. It was back in 2001. That's when it was. So that's the 2001 Martin Lawrence film he's talking about. So I have a question about the movie Black Knight. In the ending of the movie, Martin Lawrence's character falls into a small lake, which transports him back to ancient Rome, where he was chased by lions. Do you think that there should be a sequel in place? Thanks a lot for the question, Robert. The answer to that is absolutely, God heavens, no. No. There should not be a sequel to that, and there will never be a sequel to that. Now, all film is subjective, and if you like Black Knight, I'm really happy that you enjoy it. Don't worry about it. I got lots of movies that I love that everybody hates, so it's not a big deal. But everybody hates Black Knight. It's a terrible film. Absolutely terrible, in my opinion. And they should never do it. So there are 3 really important reasons why this will never happen, a sequel to Black Knight. Number 1, it was terrible. Most people hated it. Once again, I got films that I love that most people hate, so don't hang your head in shame at all if you love Black Knight. You hold your head high. But the majority of the people hated it, including critics and film fans, so that kind of precludes it ever from being made. Number 2, it lost the studio a lot of money. That film bombed, and bombed badly. So that's probably the most important reason. But the third, I have heard Martin Lawrence himself crack jokes about how bad Black Knight is. I don't think Martin Lawrence, no matter how bad his career gets, I think he's got some pretty cool things coming up soon, but I don't think Martin Lawrence has any desire to do Black Knight again. I don't think he liked that film very much. Actually, I know he didn't like that film. So nobody liked it. It lost a ton of money. Martin Lawrence has no desire to do another one. So I think those 3 things kind of make it a grand slam home run that we are most likely never going to see a Black Knight 2. But once again, if you love that film, man, hold your head high. No reason to be ashamed of that. Next question comes to us from Evan C. Constam, who writes, "Hey guys, I love the show. My question is about turning animated shows into," he says love, but I think he means live, "into live action movies. The track record of these is terrible, with The Smurfs, Garfield, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Dragon Ball Evolution, and The Last Airbender. Do you think Hollywood should stop making movies like this? I think the only way to make a movie is to make it a cartoon movie, since the track record is usually pretty good. What are your thoughts?" Well, Evan, you raised some very good examples, like with Dragon Ball Evolution, with The Last Airbender, you raised a really good example. But let's look at some facts. The fact is, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Part 1 and Part 3, which I think they called Chipwrecked. So 3 Alvin and the Chipmunk movies, Part 1 and Part 3. Both of those each made over $340 million worldwide. Each made over $340 million worldwide. The second Alvin and the Chipmunks film, the Squeakquel, I think is what they called it, made over $440 million worldwide. Let's look at the Smurfs. The first Smurfs movie made over $560 million worldwide. $560 million worldwide. Smurfs 2 took a massive nosedive, but even after the massive nosedive, Smurfs 2 still made over $350 million. So while we can sit and say, animated properties being turned live action movies, failure. We can say that. But the fact is, no, they're not. Some of them are, but several of them are absolute huge financial windfalls that people wanted to go out and see. They were interested in seeing, and they went out and they bought their tickets and they went to go watch it. So, no, if I'm a Hollywood studio head, yeah, I'll roll the dice on some animated to live action films if I think it's going to generate enough interest and there's enough brand recognition and I think there's a possibility it can make a lot of money that people want to see it. I would continue to do it. Yes, there will be some failures. Yes, there will be some flops, but that's the same with any movie, right, man? So I think there's enough examples of huge success. Talking about the 3 Alvin and Chipmunks movies, the Smurfs movies, things like that. I think there's enough of a recent track record of big success that would say you have to consider turning an animated property into a live action film if it's got big brand recognition, carries a big potential to make a lot of money, that people would want to see it, blah, 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 blah. All those things have to be taken into consideration. But absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we can say that they're all terrible, but a lot of people like them and wanted to go out and see them and paid a lot of money to go see them. So yeah, I would, if I was a studio head, I would consider it. All right, last question today comes to us from Damon Crawford, who writes, greetings and salutations from Butler, Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania, by the way. I love that. I used to love driving through Pennsylvania. Anyway, hey, movie talkers, love the new show and studio. Keep up the great work. Now on to my question. Who would you like to see as Dr. Doom? I think in the original movie, the first one, Julian McMahon played a great Dr. Doom. I think they should get him again. Your thoughts? Plus, possibly, could we see him as a crossover villain in future Avengers movies? Well, I'm not going to answer the part about who do I think should play Dr. Doom because I could give 100 names. I'm just going to sit and wait to see who they cast as Dr. Doom whenever they do Dr. Doom. Because remember, we don't know that they're going to use Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four reboot. They'll use him further down the line, but we don't know that he's even going to be in the first one. So there's no point in really speculating. As much as I dislike the first 2 Fantastic Four movies, and everybody knows how much I dislike those movies, I'm going to go on record and say I think Julian McMahon could have been a very good Dr. Doom. The problems with Dr. Doom in the first 2 Fantastic Four movies had nothing to do with McMahon's performance. It was all about how that character was written. I actually think he could have been a very good cast. I think he was a very good cast to play Dr. Doom. I just don't like the way that character was written, what they did with him, and the overall movie that he was in. I think he could have been, and I think he played Dr. Doom in that movie as well as it could have been played given the script that they had. So if they had made a Fantastic Four 3 instead of rebooting it, I would have been very happy to hear that McMahon was coming back to play Doom. I would also keep my fingers crossed that they fired every writer that's ever worked on it and just wrote it from scratch. But here's the thing. As much as I like McMahon as Dr. Doom and the potential of him as Dr. Doom, it's a reboot. If you reboot it, reboot it. You don't bring guys back from the last one if it's a reboot. You leave if you're rebooting it and say this is totally different, totally universe, then you put everything else away. You don't bring stuff over. All right? You just don't. I have one exception in all of my movie life that I would say I would make. In that if you bring in a J. Jonah Jameson character into the new Spider-Man universe, bring in the dude who played him in the other Spider-Man movies because he was perfect. That's the only exception I'll make. That's the only one. And even then, I shouldn't do it. But so absolutely 100% unequivocally, no. You don't bring McMahon into the new one as Dr. Doom again. It doesn't matter how good he was in it, whatever. It's a reboot, so you put everything else away. Actually, I think one of the big problems, a couple of friends of mine were actually behind Ghost Rider 2. And I remember when they were starting to develop it, it was originally going to be a reboot. And I think a reboot with Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, I think that could have been a really cool thing. But Sony decided to go in the direction of, no, let's bring back Nicolas Cage. And I like Nick Cage. I do. But if you're rebooting it, reboot it. And it really wasn't a reboot. Now, they try to attach this really cool, funny-sounding word to it called, it's a requel. A mix between a reboot and a sequel. It's a requel. No, as long as he's there, it's just another Ghost Rider movie, and we all know it didn't turn out very well. And I think it would have been much better served if they've just gone, or were allowed to have just gone with their original idea of just rebooting Ghost Rider and making a really badass, dark, R-rated Ghost Rider. Instead, Nick Cage came back, and it wasn't a reboot anymore. So I think that was a thing. Plus, you have to look at the issue. Now, when you're looking at the question of, okay, could we see a Doctor Doom crossover into as an Avengers villain? We get these questions a lot, and I don't mind answering it. Because, 4 months ago, we only had 50,000 subscribers. Now we have 100,000 subscribers. So a lot of you haven't heard me talk about it. But Fantastic Four and all of its characters, including Doctor Doom, belong to Fox. Avengers is Marvel. They are not allowed to use each other's characters. The only two characters that have a very specific deal that can appear in the X-Men universe and can appear in the Avengers universe is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And it's not because because in the comics, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were in X-Men and they were in Avengers. That's why they're allowed to do both. No, that has nothing to do with it. It's just that these two characters, and only, I believe, these two characters have that specific deal in place where both Fox and Avengers can use them. And they'll be totally separate. So we're going to see Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, but it will be a completely different Quicksilver than the one we're going to see in Avengers. So make sure you're clear on that. That being the case, Doctor Doom is a character that belongs to Fox. Therefore, he will not appear in a Marvel film. So hope that answers that. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. I've run out of time and I've run out of questions. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget, join us again tomorrow. AMC Movie Talk is now live every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Los Angeles time, Pacific Standard Time. Look up to see whatever time that is in your particular time zone. Just go to our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/AMC Theaters, and you'll see that the video starts and pops up at 11 o'clock. Watch us live. We got the chat board open. Kristen Lee interacts and takes questions from the chat board. She talks back to you guys too. It's a lot of fun. And we just started doing it last week, doing it live again, and it's just been awesome. And the response has been great. So make sure you guys join us. So until next time, my name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until then, bye-bye.